Chapter 1. I quickened my pace and turned the corner onto 82nd. I could see through the shop windows as my tail sped up to keep me in sight. I stopped to look in the door of a five and dime, causing him to awkwardly jump behind the newspaper stand. He was an amateur, but determined. I had no idea why he was following me. I wasn't working a case. I just swung by for a hot dog at Louie's. I had spotted my shadow a couple blocks back and decided to take him on a trip until I could figure out what he wanted. I lingered at the corner on 6, just long enough for the signal to turn yellow, then crossed. The blaring car horns told me he dove through traffic to follow. I wanted to get a better look at the man, but didn't want him to know I was on to him. "Afternoon, Mr. Doyle. Fancy a shine?" the boot-black asked me as I approached. "Sure thing, Leonard." I hopped up into the first seat and extended my legs so he could get to work. A little chit-chat would help sell the scene. "What's the good word, my friend?" "Looks like they're finally talking peace over in Korea," the shoeshiner said as he worked the rag back and forth over my wingtips. "I thought that last war was supposed to be the one that ended all the wars." That's what they told me when I was there. The guy following me was about 2 shops down, staring in the window at a new canister vacuum. You can tell a lot about a person when they're trying to be inconspicuous. He was in his mid-20s and took good care of himself. His clothes were well kept, but not expensive. The suit was tailored to fit him. This told me 2 things. He was concerned about his appearance, and he wasn't packing heat. If you carry a gun regularly, you get baggy suits to hide the bulge. I watched him from the corner of my eye. He kept turning his entire head to check if I was still there. Definitely an amateur. But that didn't mean he wasn't dangerous. I had a few options at that point. I could try to shake him. Easy enough. But I wouldn't know why he was following me. I could confront him, but odds were he'd run and I'd have to chase him a few blocks. I hated running, and the kid looked like he might be fast. I decided to go with the third option. Total improvisation. I tipped Leonard and headed back down 82nd toward my follower. As I approached him, he started looking around for places to hide. There were none. 3 women were walking towards us from the other direction. I slowed my pace so we'd cross paths right in front of my pursuer, forcing me to step closer to him. He turned his back to me as I expected, and I bumped him with my shoulder, hard enough to make him stumble a step or 2. I tossed out an apology without stopping and turned left onto 6th. As I continued walking, I started looking through the wallet I had just lifted. His driver's license said he was Stephen Otley, and he lived on Bleecker Street. His library card was well used, told me he was a reader, or at least liked books. There was a paper napkin with a phone number and the name of a restaurant on it. 4 singles and a 5 were the only other content. Not much, but now, if he ran, I'd know where to find him. A side mirror on a parked car told me Otley was still behind me. I sped up again and turned south on 83rd. Then I quickly ducked inside the lobby of a movie theater and waited until he passed. I stepped back out and whistled to him. He spun around just in time to catch his wallet. "Now that I know who you are, you want to tell me why you're following me?" Otley looked around like a trapped fox trying to escape the dogs. You won't understand." He turned and ran. They always run. I gave chase. The kid was fast, but he kept looking back at me. Twisting your body like that just slows you down. If he had just put his head down and sprinted, I never would have caught him. He dashed through the intersection at 5th, and I tried to follow. But a cab screeched to a halt in front of me, making me slide across its hood. Otley was pulling away from me again, until a woman stepped out from one of the stores. He bounced off the open door and was sent careening into the street. He staggered about 3 steps, and then slammed shoulder first into the asphalt. He didn't have time to look up before the white delivery van hit him head on. I told the lady to go back in the store and call the cops, and then I ran over to Otley and checked for a pulse. It was too late. The van driver was frantic, telling everyone the kid just dove out into the street and there was nothing he could do. I leaned against the fender of an old Packard and waited for the cops. The first to arrive was Officer Jim DiCarlo. He took one look at me and put an immediate call into Detective Sebastian Lee. Seabass must have broke a few land speed records on his way to the scene and was asking me questions before he even got his car parked. "What the hell happened here, Doyle? Is this guy one of Fogg's kind?" By that he meant something supernatural. Lucius Fogg was my boss, and together we handled cases involving the occult and the paranormal. I don't remember the last time I spoke with Seabass that didn't have some kind of monster or magic involved. I really don't know. I noticed him following me for a few blocks. I confronted him, he ran, and ended up getting up close and personal with the truck's bumper. Do you have any idea why he was following you? Not the slightest. He's no professional. I tilted my head towards the uniformed officer. Even DeCarlo over there would have spotted him. And you're leveling with me here? He leaned in so no one else would hear him. There's no vampires, werewolves, gargoyles, evil warlocks, or anything else involved in this. Cross my heart. I made an X over my chest. This seemed to appease the detective a bit. All right, I'm going to keep you out of this. If the captain sees your name on the report, he'll have 101 more questions, and I don't want to deal with it. He glanced around quickly, trying to make sure no one could see him, being nice. You need a ride home? Nah, the Studebaker's just around the corner. Detective, you'll want to see this. DeCarlo came running over with something in his hand. He gave it to Seabass. It was a stack of newspaper clippings stapled together. The detective just shook his head as he looked over the pages, finally tossing them over for me to see. It was a collection of articles written about fog and the cases we'd solved. He even circled my name with a red pen. They were in the dead guy's coat pocket. DeCarlo was proud of his discovery. Looks like he was a fan, probably following you in hopes of getting your autograph. We see this kind of stuff all the time with ball players and movie stars. The more you and your boss end up in the papers, the more likely this kind of stuff will be. That doesn't make any sense. Then why would he run? He was probably too nervous to actually meet you. Listen, Doyle, everything I see here says this was just an accident. You were being followed, and like a good PI, you wanted to know why. I'd have done the same thing. The guy just had bad luck. Now go home. I started walking back towards my car. I'd seen a lot of dead bodies in my day, human and inhuman. So it wasn't his death that was bothering me. It wasn't my involvement in it either. As a detective, you're always looking over your shoulder, and I would have played it exactly the same way, even knowing the outcome. You can't second-guess your instincts, or you'll end up dead yourself. By the time I reached the Studebaker, I had convinced myself to believe Detective Lee's theory. Otley was just a poor, star-struck fan with rotten luck. It explained his nervousness, his following me, the clippings in his pocket, just about everything. I would just have to accept that I'd never know what he thought I wouldn't understand. I'd also have to accept that the delivery truck driver really didn't see him, and that's why he never even tried to hit his brakes.